Welcome to another episode of Investing in Intellectual Property with Dave. Today we have a very special guest with us. This gentleman has combined our need for protein and our love for ice cream into a healthy meal option in his product, Protein Pints, which is in stores of one of the largest grocery stores in the state of Michigan. Please help me welcome Paul Reiss. How's it going, Paul?
Doing great. Thank you for having me, David.
No, I appreciate it. Appreciate taking the time out today and kind of talking to me a little bit about your business. I've been fortunate enough, and I know we talked offline a little bit, fortunate enough to just kind of learn more just through research and whatnot. And you have an amazing story with Protein Pints, but just to make sure the audience kind of understands what is this? Because a lot of times you think of ice cream, you think of not healthy, you think of maybe fat, whatever the case may be. But this is not the case. So can you explain a little bit about kind of Protein Pints and how it kind of differs from just going to get a tub of ice cream from the store?
Yeah, 100%. So Protein Pints is a very high protein, low sugar ice cream. So essentially it's healthy, not just because it has low sugar, but also because it has the functional benefit of protein. So think of like a protein shake or a protein bar, but in ice cream format. That's what Protein Pints is.
And because I know a lot of times as you're going through, or people going through a health journey or weight loss journey, whatever the case may be, they may just do a shake or a protein bar, maybe as a meal replacement or something along those lines. Can you use Protein Pints in that same way, or is it not maybe meant to be used as a meal replacement?
Yeah, man. I use it as a real meal replacement all the time. Sometimes I'll eat it for breakfast or I'll have it for dinner because it's packing right now between 500 to 700 calories, which is about a meal.
Yep.
You can put it in a blender and make a shake, and it's delicious.
Wow. No, that's crazy. So I guess kind of backing up a little bit, and I know we have a lot to cover, so I don't want to waste any time. What made you, just kind of going back a little bit, what made you say, okay, I'm going to start an ice cream company? I know someone, for me, man, it just seems so far-fetched that I'm like, okay, where the heck to start it in terms of trying to create or start an ice cream company? So kind of taking us back when you're initially coming up with this idea. And again, just for the audience, you do have a partner that isn't here, so you're representing the company here. So when you guys kind of first started this thing out, many years ago now, I think, what made you say, okay, this is it. This is going to be the thing that we're going to dedicate our next amount of years to?
Yeah. To your point, I had no idea that we were going to start this. I was an accounting major in school, actually. And my partner, my best friend, Michael, we were working out together one day at the gym. It was a hot summer day. We went to the store afterwards and we wanted to get some ice cream, but we wanted ice cream that was low sugar and had that high protein aspect because we're trying to put on some muscle mass, and it didn't exist, and we were shocked. It's one of those things that you're just thinking about, like, why doesn't this exist yet? And that was protein ice cream for us. So that's when we decided we might have an opportunity here.
So I guess, what is a typical tub or pint or whatnot of ice cream having in terms of protein, like grams of protein?
Yeah, it's quite low. So a typical pint of, if you're looking at, there's a wide range, but let's say Ben & Jerry's could have between 4 to 10 grams of protein in a pint. And then you're going to be looking at 100 grams of sugar.
Wow.
Yeah, give or take. So
just compare what you guys offer, how many grams compared to grams of protein compared to sugar?
Currently, we're at about 45 grams of protein per pint, and then we're averaging about 10 grams of sugar, which is 90% less than a Ben & Jerry's.
Would it be considered, out of curiosity, and I know I'm kind of veering off path as far as kind of the start of things, because I know you hear a lot about low sugar ice cream and things like that. What is considered low sugar, and does what you guys have differ from a low sugar ice cream?
Yeah, I think 10 grams, most people generally would consider that low sugar for ice cream, for a whole pint of ice cream. So keep in mind, a serving is going to be 3 grams of sugar.
Okay.
So I think that 10 grams is quite low, and most people would agree with that.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Cause I just trying to differentiate it if it was a differentiation. And again, when I'm buying ice cream,
Yeah,
I'm already eating ice cream, so I'm not necessarily going for the low sugar ice cream. But I would
100%.
imagine that it's like a low sugar option. I will just trying to see whether or not the low sugar, just trying to differentiate what you guys have from the low sugar. Is it okay? The low sugar ice cream doesn't include as much protein as what you guys have, or are your guys' protein pints still less sugar than what I guess a low protein sugar ice cream would be?
That's a great question. I think protein pints actually is lower sugar than most, low net carb or low sugar ice
Gotcha.
creams on the market today.
For
There
sure.
are a few, there's the keto ice creams. So like no sugar added, and obviously we do have a small amount of sugar, um, but it is quite low in comparison with the whole spectrum of products out there.
And I would imagine that even with like low sugar ice cream, or obviously as you mentioned earlier, regular ice cream, it kind of blows things out the water as it relates to the amount of proteins, the grams of protein in it.
Yeah, definitely. And we didn't want to put high sugar into our ice cream because it's like, okay, we're giving high protein, but then if it's still high sugar, I don't think people are going to feel great about that.
For sure.
Um,
For sure.
just like right now, it's like people eat a low sugar ice cream, but it doesn't have really any functional benefits to it. It doesn't have any nutritional like stuff. It doesn't help them nutritionally. So I still don't feel good about eating low sugar, low calorie because it's empty calories.
Right. Right. No, yeah, it seems like that's the thing where people are like, okay, hey, get away from the sugar, get away from the sugar, and seems like that's a big thing. Now, obviously, you try to do it as best as possible, but
Yeah,
it's a little tougher just completely cut out sugar out of the diet. But it seems like you kind of want to stay low as possible, at least from my understanding.
100%. You got to have a little sugar in there for the taste and the functionality of the ice cream because it really does help the ice cream in a lot of different ways. So
Now, does
it's a
protein
balance.
shake have? I guess I haven't had a protein shake in a while, but is that? I would imagine that also has some type of a sugar amount of sugar in there as well.
Yeah, I mean there's hundreds of brands, so some of them probably have no sugar, and then some of them have a lot of
Okay,
sugar.
gotcha.
Um, yeah, so it's definitely about finding the right balance
Okay,
or what
that
people
makes
really
sense
want.
for
Yeah,
sure. I guess going back to, I know we kind of veered off track there, but going back to the story of, okay, so you're going out there, you and
yeah,
your best friend going to the gym, and
yeah.
notice it's no ice cream that's high in protein and low in sugar. So at that point, are you guys like, is it still like, okay, we're going to create this ourselves, or is it like, I guess what's the thought process at that point?
The thought process is we're gonna create this ourselves for ourselves. We're at this point we're not really thinking about other people.
Yeah.
I, I'm in my mind. I'm thinking about I want protein ice cream for me because I love ice cream and I want to get my protein in, and I think this would be the most enjoyable way to do it. So I started making protein ice cream for myself.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So then, as far as, because I know I was reading it up, and it seems like I'm not sure if this is the same summer or this was a different time period where you and your partner was literally every day kind of coming up in a spreadsheet with different ideas to kind of start a business. Was this, I guess, around the same time, or was that period where you guys were kind of putting different business ideas in a spreadsheet before the time period of, I guess, kind of, okay, we're going to create the protein, uh, I guess, protein pints with ice cream?
Yeah. Great question. So, funnily enough, we had the idea summer of 2021. And as you mentioned, we were writing down one idea every day in a spreadsheet. And then we actually picked that idea back up again in summer of 2022. So, it was a whole year before we actually started working on it.
Really? So
Yeah.
what were those ideals in a spreadsheet of 2021? The rest of those ideas maybe just not worth just trying to flush out from a business standpoint.
yeah. You know, I think protein ice cream arguably was the only feasible good idea in that whole spreadsheet. But that's all you need. You can have 99 bad ideas. You
Yeah, for
just need
sure.
one
Right.
really good one. Um, and that's what I think that's really what we had.
And that's interesting that you're saying that protein pints was the only feasible idea based on that spreadsheet. Because even at this point in time, I guess you're in college at this point for accounting. I'm not sure what your partner Mike, what he's in college for, but I would imagine that uh, just trying to create an idea, essentially trying to make the ice cream from scratch, that you would need almost experience or expert in making ice cream, which it seems like neither of you guys had, at least at that point in time. So did that cross your guys' brain or head, or is it like, no, we're still going to figure this out and we're going to, because again, you guys tried to do this yourself, and it seems like
Yeah.
after some time, you're like, we don't know what the hell we're doing.
I definitely think that probably crossed their mind. I I think that we grew up in the generation of people who go to YouTube or Google search and look up how to do something. So that's for me, like whenever I wanted to learn something or do something, I go to YouTube, like how to do this. And that's exactly what we did for ice cream. We have the world at our fingertips with the internet. So we looked up how to make it and we just started learning. And really I think that really empowered us to start, you know.
Okay, okay. And then I know you guys had like the blender from Amazon, and I guess
Oh yeah.
at what point, again, and I'm assuming that it was many failed attempts of trying to create this ice cream. I guess what made the light bulb go off? Like, man, we don't know what the heck we're doing. We need to kind of solicit someone's expertise, and help us out
Yeah.
with this.
I think we worked on it for about 2 months and we got to a point, I think I was on recipe like number 30 and I just couldn't figure out how to make it any better from what
Did
I
it like not
had.
taste good, or was still? I'm not even sure how to measure protein and grams of protein and I guess grams of sugar and all that. But I guess what was it like? What was it clicking at that point in time?
Right. It was good, but it wasn't ice cream. I was using
Oh,
like coffee creamer. I was using like I remember at one point I think I put vodka in as like a stabilizer or something. And these ingredients were good when I got it right out the mixer. It was great.
okay,
But it's not something that you could commercialize because it was good as soon as it came out, but it's not going to survive, like more than a week maybe on the shelf. It
okay.
definitely wouldn't have held up. Um, and looking back on that product, it was a witch's brew for sure. So
So then at some point in time, it seems like you guys kind of pulled in. Seems like the third member of the team, Chris McKellar. So I guess and again, it was an interesting story in terms of you kind of maybe would apply for an intern or externship or something with his, I guess, local ice cream shop, I think in the Grand Rapids area. And, that was interesting. At what point did, I guess, he come on your guys' radar? Was it just purely that we need somebody who has expertise and this is a guy who's, uh, I guess we know, or maybe is wanting to
yeah,
talk to us about things?
yeah, great question again. We didn't know of Chris, but when I realized that it was time for us to learn more about ice cream, I looked at all of the ice cream stores surrounding us, so in like a 100-mile radius, and I made a list. And at the top of that was Chris's shop. He was number one. And so what I did is I went and applied to get a job there and learn how to make ice cream at his shop. Long story short, I didn't end up getting the position, but I told Chris about our idea, and he was willing to help us. So it was turned out way better that I didn't get a job there because he came on as a full-time partner instead.
So I guess and I'm not thinking applying for an ice cream or position at an ice cream shop, you don't think of that being maybe rocket science necessarily. So, what did he ever say why he didn't hire you for that position?
He didn't hire me because he would have hired me for front of house, but in back of house they make all of their own ice cream, and that's what I wanted to do.
Oh,
But that position was filled. So, and Chris's ice cream shop isn't a normal ice cream shop. When you think of a normal ice cream shop, they have those tubs there, And typically what happens is they get those tubs, they just buy them and the tubs come in. But Chris, what he does is in the back of his ice cream shop, they make all of it in-house from scratch. So it's like, they're probably like, the top of, they're very rare. There's very few that make their ice cream from scratch in-house.
Yeah.
Maybe 5% or less. It's very rare that you'll find an ice cream shop that does that.
Gotcha. So then, as far as, I mean, Chris must have saw something in you guys, because I imagine he's running his own business, and just as someone who's kind of running multiple different businesses, and attorney, things of that sort. I'm not necessarily trying to kind of
I got you.
spend more of my time doing something that's kind of a project. It's one thing to talk to someone and kind of give them advice on different things, but to come in as a full-time partner, I guess, what do you think he saw in you guys to make it seem like, okay, this is a good idea?
Chris saw that we had a vision and that we needed help to get there. And I think that we potentially might have reminded Chris of himself when he was younger. At one point, Chris was the guy who had a vision to start his own ice cream shop.
Right.
And he probably had mentors and people that helped him in his life. So I think he might have saw that in us. And then when we met with him, we brought him all of our ice cream samples. We showed up with actual product, and it wasn't good. It wasn't great.
Right.
But we pull out all the stops. We really showed up, and we showed that we cared.
Right.
So I think that's what matters.
And that makes perfect sense, because I would imagine that you're not getting just regular people who are interested or about a business actually kind of making ice cream, and although it's maybe not good, giving samples. So that I'm pretty sure that went a long way with them.
Yeah.
Now that's pretty interesting. So at what point did you guys, because I'm assuming that you're in Grand Rapids or around that Grand Rapids area. I think you're in college over that way. At what point did you decide, okay, we're going to drop out of school and kind of pursue this thing full time? And I guess what went into that decision? That seems like definitely something that you had to talk over with the family, the parents, and hey, what, you're dropping out of college to pursue a dream in ice cream? That it seems like that would have been a tough sell.
Okay. So to back it up a little bit, I actually dropped out of school before we started Protein Pints.
Oh.
So think about starting a company and then selling that to your parents versus not having any idea, dropping out of school and selling that to your parents. In addition to that, I had about 1 year left of school and I'm on almost a full ride. And I told my parents, and I told my parents,
out of school with 1 year left?
With 1 year left, almost a full ride, and I didn't have a quote unquote plan.
What was that? Like, I've never heard of this before. Typically, you'll drop out after the first year, maybe after the second year, not with 1 year left. So I guess what was going through your mind to kind of rationalize, I guess, that decision at that point in time?
Man, I felt like I was being called to do something else, something more in my life, and at the same time, I didn't have a great relationship with God, meaning that I didn't truly understand what that meant to me, that word.
Okay.
And that is what I figured why I need to drop out, because it's probably the most important thing that I can do with my time is to figure out, why am I here and what do I really want to do with my life? So that's what I set out to do. And Protein Pints, I think, happened as a result of that.
Wow. So then how did your parents kind of react to all this? Did it take some convincing? Not saying that, at this point you're grown, so I'm not sure, they stopped you even if they did disagree, but were they on board with it, or were they like, you're crazy? I guess, what were they kind of reacting to?
Yeah. As much as I love my parents and they're super supportive now, it was very hard on them. There were sleepless nights. I can remember, my mom crying, both my parents crying. And it was really hard, man. It was really hard because that's not something that, you want to put your parents through, because they've worked
Right.
so hard to get you where you're
Absolutely.
at. And that honestly might have been the hardest part was, I had faith and I had this idea of what I wanted to do, and I thought it was worth it. But that was really hard, man. It was really hard.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I would imagine at that point. So then how long after dropping out, I guess, the protein pints? Because I always thought that protein pints, you dropped out as a result of protein pints, but it seems like you dropped
you would
out
think so. You would think so.
prior to, and then how much longer or how much time passed by before you kind of get this protein pints ideal and kind of go from there?
Yep. So I worked on it's about 2 months after I dropped out, and
That's for one
I
year left. That's crazy.
yeah. So I dropped out for about 2 months, and I'm feeling better than I've ever felt, because I'm really prioritizing myself and I'm trying to learn as much as possible. So I'm reading all these books. I'm doing really well with my habits at this time, and I I get this idea in my head that I'm going to start a company. So I don't know what, but I just start thinking of ideas, and I start working on this company, which at the time was a self-help app called Found. Um, and I'm working on this. I call Michael, who's my best friend, up, and at the time we're still talking. He's at University of Michigan, and Michael is not doing well. For perspective, it's during COVID, so
Okay.
he's just really struggling with his classes. I think he's failing one or two classes at this point. And I said, I'm starting this company, and I want you to be a part of it, but I also want you to do what's best for you. So I think this is what's best for you. I want you to come join me. What do you say? And about a week after we had that conversation, he actually ended up dropping out of University of Michigan. Yeah.
Really? And how much
Yeah.
longer? I'm assuming that you guys were around the same age, so I'm assuming that he's near the end as well.
He had a little bit more schooling than me. I think he had about 2 years left. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah, convincing someone to drop out of school is never, it's
Yeah,
it's
no,
never
yeah,
easy.
yeah, that
But
seems like a tough thing, especially when it seems like he's at least halfway through at this point.
yeah, I think it made it easier that he was failing some classes, which probably isn't you know um, great to say. But and then about 2 weeks after he dropped out, we actually ended up starting Protein Pints, because we went back to that old spreadsheet and we saw that idea for
Yeah.
protein ice cream. Um, and I think Michael actually had a conversation with his ex-girlfriend at the time, or his girlfriend at the time, and um, they were talking about it, and we all got talking about it, and then it just like reignited this passion and this idea that we had a year prior. We're just like, this is it. It just clicked, It's just like one of those
Wow.
things just clicks.
Huh. Wow. Wow. So then, that's crazy. So I guess at this point in time, at what? Because again, we kind of met through a mutual friend, and
Yeah.
it seems like you guys had did some pitch competition. So obviously, you guys are kind of rolling to the point where not rolling, but this you're going to competition trying to pitch the product and maybe get grant money to really kind of get things going on. What do you think was the biggest break earlier on? Not saying that you guys are just 10, 15 years down the line at this point, but what do you think was the biggest break early on in the process with protein pints?
Break as in like a really good thing that happened.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That made you like, okay, because sometimes this it can be a daunting task as an entrepreneur where you have a lot of bad days, but it's that maybe one day or that one event that happens that's like, okay, I'm gonna continue to push through, even though maybe I'm not getting money, or I'm not getting the results that I want, and I'm looking maybe like a fool or whatever the case may be. But you have different breaks here and there that kind of keeps you going, keeps you pushing. Like, okay, we can be successful. Whether it's grant money, whether it's being featured in a magazine or on a news article, like something along those lines.
Yeah.
That okay, we're going to keep going.
Yeah. This is a great question. I've never been asked this one before. I think early on, we actually posted several So two things. Early on, we posted several videos on TikTok, and they blew up.
Wow.
So that, we didn't even have a product at that point. We just did some voiceovers and showed us making ice cream at our house.
Okay.
And these videos got, I think, like 40,000, 50,000 views each. We posted like 3 of them. And we're like, okay, people really want this.
Right.
This is proof of concept. So we know that there's a market. And knowing that people are out there that are wanting your product right now, it really gives you the strength to move forward, because you know that once you get there, people are going to buy this. Number 2, I think, was we got accepted into a program, something called a startup accelerator, where if you get accepted, you get placed in a team or a cohort of different teams, and you work together with these other entrepreneurs to push your idea forward. And that was really the first program we'd gotten accepted to, and it served as a catalyst for everything else that happened, getting us connected, getting us resources, mentorship, all of that stuff. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The TikToks and the program. So yeah.
So was this before maybe kind of like the pitch competitions and or was this maybe kind of just around that time or maybe afterward?
This is pre-pitch competition. This
Okay.
this was the first few months. We did get accepted into pitch competitions. Like about 3 or 4 months after we started, we got accepted into a really big one called Start Garden. And Start Garden gives 100 people $1,000 if you get into the top 100. And then out of the top 10 of the 100, those top 10 each get $20,000. So we didn't win the $20,000 the first year, but they believed in us and they gave us a piece of paper for $1,000 to work on our idea. And for us, that was huge, man.
Right.
Like, that was huge. And I gotta say too, people like yourself, people in the community who are supporting in us, I think that was the biggest catalyst, is the support that we got.
Right.
Really, truly.
No, that's so then it seems like you were saying the first year you guys didn't win, but the second year I'm assuming that you guys did win the 20,000.
We did. Yep. Very full circle. It was our first event ever at the time. And this September, we ended up winning the $20,000 prize.
Wow. So I'm assuming that's amazing. So then again, I know you're talking to me at my alma mater, Michigan State University.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, sir.
what made you, after maybe dropping out early on and kind of having a business that seems like the trajectory is kind of going kind of what you wanted, where you wanted to go? Not saying you guys don't have kind of down days, because that's just a nature of the game, but it seems like all in all things are kind of trending upwards. What made you say, okay, I'm going to get back into this school thing? And is that something that you did on your own, or was that something that both you and your partner decided, okay, we're going to enroll? Because he's at the enemy school. He's at UNC. I had to even take that into consideration as I was thinking about that. But what made you decide, okay, this is, because I'm assuming it had to be a reason, it was necessary for one reason or another to get back into school, or to get enroll back in school and not be where you were, but going to a whole nother city to attend school. So what was that mindset?
Yeah. I think a startup is like a child in a sense. It's like you have to feed your child, I guess. And that's kind of how I think about it. So in every area of my life, I'm trying to get resources for my startup, my child. And what happened was we learned that Michigan State had one of the best entrepreneurship programs in the entire country. And they offered these state-of-the-art facilities, mentorship. They offered funding, non-dilutive funding, legal help, design, marketing. So all of these areas where they're going to provide resources. And that was when we had to make that choice, okay, maybe maybe this is something that we should consider.
Right.
And we also realized that Michigan State had a dairy complex where they make all their own ice cream.
Dairy stores, man.
The
People,
dairy
hey,
store.
that was one of the staples back when I was there for all those years.
Yeah,
Amazing ice cream there.
it
And
sure
they do it
is.
right on campus. It's not, they not the big, the cows and all that. So I mean,
They make
I
it
have
all
a,
on campus, man. And so we had this idea that it's a big leap of faith, but maybe if we go to Michigan State, we can get involved with this entrepreneurship program and get all of these resources and also start to build a connection with the Michigan State Dairy Complex where maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to make our ice cream there one day. So, and honestly, like at the time, we don't know if any of this will happen, but it's such a high ROI, return on investment, that you kind of have to take that risk.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like it was almost like a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah, I think looking back, that's a great way to put it. It was a no-brainer.
So where were you guys making it before? Was it out of Chris's shop or?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, we're making it in Grand Rapids out of his ice cream shop.
And is it just kind of? I mean, obviously the dairy store MSU. It's. I mean, I haven't been to ice cream shops, but I would imagine it's somewhat a state of the art shop. So was it just more capacity, being able to make more ice cream there, or like what was just the I guess the bottleneck that you guys were, or the reason that you guys wanted to make it at the dairy store?
Yeah. Well, I think the manufacturing capabilities are far superior at Michigan State. So
Yeah.
at Love's, we could make a few hundred pints per day. At the dairy complex, you could make thousands or tens of thousands of
Right.
pints per day. So it is, and also it's automatic. It's continuous
Yeah.
in a sense. So it's much less manual labor, and it's just a much better facility.
For sure.
So that was why we wanted to come over here.
Oh, that makes sense. So how long have you guys been in a program? And I guess got to go back a little bit from an entrepreneur. I mean, I graduated engineering and from law, or with my law degree at Michigan State as well. And so I'm thinking of kind of going class, sitting in the classroom with 60, 70, 80 students and listening to a lecture, doing homework, doing exams. I would imagine with the entrepreneurship, that's maybe not the case. So I guess, how can you describe the difference between going to school, particularly at Michigan State, and being in an entrepreneurial program as opposed to going to get maybe an engineering degree or an accounting degree or another degree from Michigan State where you actually in the classroom work most of the time?
Dude, it's freaking awesome. Um, it's freaking awesome. You just get so many crazy opportunities. Like Burgess invites us to travel. We'll go all over the United States, and they pay for everything. Yeah, we get to go connect with high net worth alumni who like started their own companies or in very high positions in companies, and we get to learn from them.
Wow.
And then like I miss a lot of class, but I just tell my professor like this is what's going on, and he knows that.
Yeah.
And so we get definitely there's a lot of perks.
Yeah.
I think it's not your traditional schooling,
Right.
but I would say that in the year that I've been doing this, I've learned more than all of my years of schooling combined because I'm working with real people in the community like yourself.
Yeah, and I was going to say, it seems like, man, just being in the program for a year, it still is a no-brainer that you enrolled there. So then I guess maybe a few other things before kind of getting you out of here. And we talked about this, I know, offline, but just for the audience, because I think as you were telling me about, I'm like, man, this is genius. Just kind of giving my knowledge as it relates to football and sports, being a collegiate athlete, a former collegiate athlete, I should say. Can you kind of talk a little bit about how you've kind of dealt with the football team at Michigan State University, as well as maybe other sports as it relates to the product Protein Pints?
Yeah, 100%. I grew up an athlete and I played I played collegiate sports myself. So I played soccer at Aquinas for 3 years, man. And I played a little bit of football back in the day, but essentially, like, we created a product to help athletes. And so coming over to Michigan State and not utilizing the athletes just seemed like a huge mistake. So what we did was we asked Burgess, like, hey, do you have any connections to football, right? Who would be like our target audience in a lot of ways. And they had a connection to a guy named Darian Harris, who I believe was the director of, is it?
Yeah, I think he's director of NIL. I know he's assistant AD director of NIL. I think maybe is his official title, but I know he deals a lot with, I mean, obviously athletics, but more so the name, image, and likeness with the NIL. Yep.
Perfect. Yep. So director of NIL, and we got in contact with Darian, and he invited us out. He tried the ice cream, and he really liked it. And then he put us in contact with the football team's nutritionist, and she loved it. So at that point, it was, like, how can we get the guys out here to try the product after their practices? So both because it's a great treat in the summer, dude. It's like 80 degrees out there. Like, ice cream's a no-brainer. Second, it's going to help us because we can ask them all of these questions about how to develop the product. So that ended up every Friday this summer, I would go to the football team's practices and do exactly that, set up our stuff, give them all ice cream samples when they're done. So, like, actually a pretty sizable scoop. I actually said, like, take as many as you want. So we'd have guys coming and, like, they'd just be grabbing it, like 5 or 6, and it was freaking awesome. And then, like, every week they'd come back and we'd have some new update. Like, hey guys, here's the packaging. What do you think about it? What do you like about it? And they're like, I like this. I don't like this. And then, okay, the next week we ordered the packaging. It's going to be here in 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, here's the new packaging that you guys helped us create. Like, so it was really cool to build that relationship.
Wow. No, that's, it seems like that has really helped out in terms of the development of Protein Pints. And I guess as an intellectual property attorney who deals with pretty much everything IP, from trademarks to copyrights to patents, at what point? Because I'm always a big advocate for protecting your IP. I actually, right before kind of this interview, I was just reading my email and got a referral for somebody who looks to want to file a patent application. So, at what point did, like, the branding in that part of it become important? Because it's one thing, and obviously you have to have a good product for it to sell, regardless. Having the branding is obviously extremely important, but you have to have a good product. But also, branding is, I would probably say, is equally as important when you think of the McDonald's and some of your bigger brands, the Starbucks and Chick-fil-A's. The branding is everything. So at what point do you guys think about that? Because I know you talked about having some trademarks that you guys have filed on and secured. At what point did that become a priority? Like, hey man, we have to protect this this brand.
Yeah, I think we realized it right away. We filed our trademark, like, I think a month after we started.
Perfect.
But we filed it ourselves and it actually got declined.
Okay.
So, but we ended up hiring a lawyer to do it for us, and thankfully that one did get approved.
Okay.
With the lawyer's help. So, as far as for patents, we haven't filed any patents yet, but we do have some advantages right now. So, which may mean we might not need to get a patent.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, it can be, a lot of different things. We think of, like, the formula for Coca-Cola, that's a trade secret as opposed to a patent. So it's other various ways to protect the IP. But again, just for me, at least as an IP attorney, I always think, hey, I was just being a big advocate for protecting that IP.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, whether it's a trademark or a trade secret or a patent, whatever the case may be, just protecting it from the business standpoint, because that's the value of the business. So it seems like you guys are doing a pretty good job of that, which is pretty cool. So then I guess maybe one more thing recently, and you have to kind of put this in context or set the tone for like Meijer, how did, because you guys are in Meijer, which is one of the largest grocery stores in the state of Michigan. I know
Yep.
Walmart obviously is up there, but I would probably say the next one being Meijer. I've
Yeah.
even seen that in Illinois and some other states that they have Meijer locations. How did that work out where you guys are getting an opportunity to be in a big box retailer such as Meijer? 'Cause that's
Yeah.
huge.
It is huge. So funny enough, our first event ever, Start Garden, it was like literally our debut event. We had never done something with the public before. We showed up to that event and we had our booth, and people really liked protein pints. And as it turns out, there were some people from Meijer there who were actually like in charge of finding local brands. So we got in contact with these people because they heard that all the buzz around it, and we were like, okay, heck yeah, we were gonna be in Meijer in 2 or 3 months. And it ended up taking about a year for our first Meijer store. So a year later, with their help, we got into one store. Now we're in 2 Meijer stores, and it did so well that we're going to 10 new Meijer Supercenters in February of 2024. And if it continues to do well, then we'll go to 100 plus by the end of 2024.
Do you know how many actual Meijer locations are there, like throughout the country or at least the state?
They're about 260. They're a top 10 retailer in the United States.
Wow. And
Yeah.
this thing must have been rocking or being bought off the shelf for them to continue to kind of expand your guys' footprint.
Yeah, we got my mom to thank for that.
Hey, it takes a team. It takes a team. I'm pretty sure she's glad she can help out in any way, especially from those the beginning days of trying to figure out what's going on here.
100%, man. We really believe in this product because it's something that is helping us in our lives. Like, I eat protein pints every day, and I see the difference that it makes. It's my favorite thing to eat. Like, I eat it every day, dude. I've never gotten tired of it. I love it. So I really think that it's going to help people, and that's why we're super excited to get it out there.
No, for sure.
So,
Sure. What as we close here, I guess what things that you can talk about, of course, are on the horizon. I know you talked about a protein pints in Meijer and how that is going to look to continue to expand as time goes forward here. Is it any other kind of cool things that you can mention or discuss at this point in time, or is it kind of more so just kind of waiting to see how things, what transpires or what takes place here in the future?
well, yeah, I can share some stuff. So right now we have 3 flavors: chocolate, vanilla, and peanut butter chip. And right now we're working on R&Ding strawberry. So
Nice.
strawberry is going to be our next flavor. Yeah, and it's pretty under wraps right now, but we're starting to do some teasers about it, and hopefully you're going to get that out during that February 17th. So we're going to have a whole new flavor on the market, and we're super excited to see, how people react and if they like it or not. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, man, I love it. You can never go wrong with strawberry ice cream, at least in my opinion. So that's yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So then in terms of if someone wants to kind of follow you guys or maybe I guess get in touch, I'm not sure if where can they go, whether it's social media. Obviously I would imagine that that's the best way at this point. But how can someone follow you guys or kind of see what you guys stay up to date on what's going on with protein pints?
yeah. So we're just protein pints on all of our social medias.
Okay.
I think if you really want to stay, follow us closely, follow on Instagram, because that's where we're the most active.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'd say LinkedIn or our website are both other good options.
And I'm assuming that the website is just proteinpints.com as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yes, sir.
No, that's sweet. So I guess as we close out here, any final words to the entrepreneurs, to the audience as it relates to kind of going after your goals, regardless of how it may look or whatever the case may be? I'm assuming that over these last several years, you've learned a ton and just kind of built yourself up as an entrepreneur. Is there anything that I guess maybe you can leave the audience with as we close out here that they can kind of take with them and hopefully apply and on their entrepreneurial journey or whatever journey that they're looking to take, and just kind of we're all looking to have success in some capacity. So, any, I guess, words of wisdom in that regard?
Yeah, I think something that's been on my mind is, what I've come to realize is that you got to start with yourself. So, Protein Pints, we've had this success in this idea because of I dropped out of school to start with myself. Your work is a reflection of who you are. So first, build yourself up internally, and then the external will reflect that internal state. You can't start a successful company if you're not successful inside, internally first. So start with yourself.
No, I mean, I actually love that, and I'm not sure how much you kind of follow that, like the P Diddy saga, or whatever that's going on, or if you even know who P Diddy
I
is.
know who P Diddy is, but
Yeah.
I don't know about this. I know who
Well,
he is. I don't
he
know
had
what's going on.
had some allegations, and he had kind of settled with an ex girlfriend, and recently stepped down to Revolt, which is kind of entertainment company that he was a chairman of. And I had made a post. Well, I made a video to a guy's Instagram post where he was saying, "Hey, uh, kind of build up your brand and stop always trying to be the face of it." Uh, and I guess that's something that he always tell his mentees or the people he coaches. This is a gentleman on Facebook. I forget his name at this point. I mean, on Instagram, I forget his name. And to be honest, I disagree with that, because at the end of the day, as you just pointed out, your company is a reflection of you, and it's hard to try to. I mean, obviously you want to build the brand up, but it's almost impossible to build the brand up and not and the brand not take on the character or the integrity or whatever it is of the owner, of the founders. It doesn't even make
Yeah,
sense. So, like you
yeah,
said, if you are a good leader, or whatever the case may be, it's going to reflect in the company. If you're a bad leader and go about things the wrong way, and have not a good moral compass and all those things, that's going to show up in the company as well. So this whole thing of trying to separate yourself from the company, like, okay, no, just be a good person, just work on yourself, as you pointed out, and all that stuff is going to reflect in the success of the company, or just reflect in a company in general, regardless of, I guess, the success or failures of it, is going to reflect in the company, because I guess they're one and the same almost, as opposed to just thinking that you're going to be a terrible person and great things are said about the company. I don't know. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but at least that's kind of was my video towards that Instagram post that I saw.
yeah. I think that's very well said.
Yep. Yep. So no, well, I appreciate it, Paul. I appreciate taking the time out today and talk to me. Hopefully, in a year or so, we can kind of get you back on and see all the great things that you guys have done. I'm pretty sure there'll be more flavors, more stores. No, maybe hey, a Good Morning America or some national TV appearances. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll definitely be someone who tries out protein pints going forward. So I appreciate it, and till next time, audience.
Till next time, David. Thank you so much, man.